Hiya folks, welcome back to the Small Business Toolbox, where we talk about the nuts and bolts of self-employed life in the UK. I'm Andy Mack and I've been self-employed for ages. One of my key messages with this video is be careful what you wish for, because I think what a lot of people's views of what a content creator does is very different from what we actually do to make money on this platform. There's been a few things in the press recently that suggest that more and more kids are wanting to be YouTubers when they grow up and leave school. And although I would take the findings of these polls with a pinch of salt, it does raise some interesting questions. Can you make money from YouTube as a business around 2019 going into 2020? And if you are a YouTuber, is it a legitimate business or are you just kidding yourself? So before we get into the detail of all this, if you think being a YouTuber is all about making the odd viral video and then rating it in from YouTube, then no, that's not a legitimate business. That's not how it works, and frankly, you stand a higher chance of winning the lottery. Later in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly where your money can come from as a YouTuber or digital content creator. And I'm also going to tell you some painful truths based on what I've told my own kids. If you are serious about this, I've got some homework for you as well. We'll chat about that later on. But for now, let's answer that second question, because that's quite an easy one to answer. Is YouTube a legitimate business and is it a real job? Well, anything that pays you money as a self-employed person that you have to then declare to HMRC, by the very nature of it, yes, you're running your own business. If you're making money from YouTube, you're in business and YouTube is effectively kind of your client. We'll not get into the YouTube charging model too much today, but effectively you're kind of working as a freelance content producer. So yes, if you've got AdSense enabled and you're making money from YouTube, you're in business. You need to declare your earnings to the government. Stop pretending it's just a hobby. And while I'm on that subject, I just want to set the record straight on something, because it comes up quite often. In the UK, if you earn more than £1,000 a year generating an income for yourself, then it absolutely needs to be declared for tax purposes. It doesn't matter how old you are, whether you're a child or an adult, there's no getting away from paying your taxes. It doesn't matter if you're doing YouTube as a bit of a side income and you've got a main job. And it doesn't make any difference if the income was just a one-off and you think it's never going to happen again. If you've passed the £1,000 a year trading allowance, you're effectively self-employed and you need to do a tax return. End of. I've already made a video all about this. Link in the description below. If you do want to consider it just as a hobby, then switch monetization off, because you're going to save yourself a whole load of hassle in terms of tax returns and stuff like that in the future. Just to explain my background on YouTube a little bit, I've been on the platform for 8 years. I set up my first channel in 2011, and I'm only just really getting to the point now where I can consider YouTube as being a potential income replacement for a full-time job. And the amount of work I've put into building up my channels from scratch is colossal. Even just the videos on this channel, a single video can easily take 2 to 3 days to make. And at the moment, this channel is only bringing in about £70 a month. Certainly not an income replacement in any way. Now, I've made a lot of mistakes over the last 8 years, and if I'd known what I know now 8 years ago, I definitely would have done things differently. So I am hoping that you can learn from my mistakes through this and other videos. But please don't think that you can set up a YouTube channel and bring in anything close to an income within 1 to 2 years. There are people who have done that, and there are obviously exceptions to the rules where there's certain channels that do just grow very quickly. In a lot of ways, you're absolutely beholden to the YouTube algorithm and whether or not it decides to promote your content. I've seen some channels that just take off, and I've seen other channels where they've been relentlessly putting out really high quality videos over a long period of time, and they're still only getting a couple of hundred views per video. So in terms of be careful what you wish for, I just want to explain that YouTube isn't all about just creating videos and editing them and uploading them. That's actually a very small proportion of what's involved in running a successful YouTube channel. Let's put some meat on the bones here and explain where your income's actually going to be coming from as a digital content creator. So your channel on YouTube is probably going to be made up of more than just a YouTube channel. You're obviously going to have your YouTube channel, but you might also have things like a podcast. You'll probably have a website or a blog of some description. And then you'll have all of the social media that goes along with that. I like to think of this as being the engine of your channel or your brand. Your income sources for this, I'm going to consider as being your wheels. And you're going to have a lot of wheels. So the most obvious income source is going to be AdSense. AdSense looks a bit like this. And the main income source from AdSense will be adverts run against your videos on YouTube. And a lot of people would think that that is your YouTube career in a nutshell. You get money from YouTube via AdSense for videos that you upload. There's a lot more to it than that. And if you just rely on YouTube AdSense income, then that's a terrible business model. You've got all your eggs in one basket with a company that you have no rights with and who can demonetize your content overnight. So for this to work, you're going to have more than one wheel on your vehicle here, and you're going to have multiple taps of income. So another side of AdSense that a lot of people use is the more traditional side of just adverts getting shown on your website or blog. If you run a successful website or blog, then you can run AdSense adverts on your website and collect income through that. I'm not a massive fan of that because I think it can ruin what was a perfectly good website, but plenty of people do make a lot of money off the back of that, and they might not even have a YouTube channel. Another major source of income is going to be affiliate income. And that's things like Amazon, eBay, and all sorts of other smaller affiliate schemes that you can get up and running as an extra income source for your channel. Another very common source of income is going to be to sell your own products. And they could take the form of physical products, digital products, membership courses, all sorts of things where you have the relationship with the end customer. Of course, a major form of income for a lot of channels can be sponsorships and brand deals. And you might have sponsorship agreements with multiple different companies, all of which need their own contracts that you need to fully understand. Of course, on top of that, you might be selling merchandise. And merchandise, of course, you can do through your own products where you physically fulfill the products yourself, but you'll probably find that that is almost impossible to make any money from at all, unless you have like some sort of team of people who are handling all of your sales and returns and things like that. But what you can do, and can work quite well, is doing it through a partner such as Teespring or Redbubble or Printful or something like that. And with that sort of thing, you basically get a commission for selling their products. Another potential income source is via other social media channels. There are social media platforms out there that will monetize your content. It's currently hard to do with your big players such as Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that. But there are other social media channels that you can make use of where you can monetize your content. So do bear that in mind. Another thing that you can make use of on YouTube is things like memberships, super chat, and other kind of income schemes that are fairly specific to the YouTube side of things. They're kind of separate to AdSense. And then finally, what you can also make use of is membership donation platforms such as Patreon. So we were talking before about your YouTube channel or podcast or blog or whatever as being the engine of your operations, and all of these being the wheels. Well, if you spread your income streams in this kind of way, one wheel can fall off and the vehicle can keep kind of running. So YouTube could potentially demonetize all of your videos, but it wouldn't necessarily kill your entire career overnight. The channels that do have problems are ones where they haven't spread their revenue streams across lots of different sources, and then in that situation you are absolutely beholden to YouTube and the algorithm and AdSense, which doesn't make that much money anyway. All of these in isolation aren't going to make very much, but if you view them as a whole and each one of these as being a separate kind of customer, then you stand a chance of making an income that you can potentially live off. But the really important thing to bear in mind here is that every single one of these little bubbles here, every one of these wheels needs to be looked after and managed. For example, if you have Patreon and you don't look after your Patreon supporters by publishing regular content that's exclusive for them, then your Patreon supporters will just start to disappear and that wheel will fall off. Likewise, affiliate income has to be managed. If you're creating affiliate links to products, well, what happens when those products become obsolete? I have multiple spreadsheets just managing the products that I recommend through affiliate links. This side alone can be a full-time job for some businesses. AdSense, of course, needs to be managed. If you don't release content, then your AdSense income will disappear. Merchandise, no one's going to buy your merchandise if you don't tell them about it, or they don't have a need to follow your channel, or you're not creating some sort of value in the first place. So t-shirts, clothing, whatever that you're selling to promote your brand ain't going to sell if you're not managing your channel and promoting yourself properly. Sponsor deals is a massive topic on its own. You need to fully understand every sponsorship agreement that you're putting together before you put pen to paper on anything. And of course, if you're selling products to your customers, whether they're physical or digital, you've got to manage that entire process from sourcing the products or creating the digital material that you're selling, and right through to customer service afterwards, potentially handling returns, providing customer support and all that sort of thing. So just remember, you've got your engine of your YouTube channel or podcast or web or blog or whatever, and you've got your wheels on your vehicle that actually generate the income. The more wheels you've got, the less open you are to your business dying if one of the wheels fall off. And just as a fun little side note to how much effort this sort of stuff takes, just setting up this shot took almost 2 hours. The reality is that most of my work on YouTube is admin based. I do a huge amount of work with spreadsheets and contracts and dealing with sponsors and talking about affiliate agreements and getting affiliate agreements set up, website updates, writing scripts. The vast majority of the work that I'm doing is admin work. And if that doesn't float your boat, then don't pick YouTube as a career choice. I enjoy the admin side of things because I'm a little bit OCD. To this day, I can't understand why there's people on YouTube who say that they don't enjoy editing. If 30 to 40% of your job is spent doing stuff that you don't enjoy, I would suggest picking a different job. Only a tiny proportion of my time is spent actually filming stuff. So look, here's my personal opinion on all of this. I'm going to be brutally honest and tell you exactly what I've told my kids. There's good news and bad news. The bad news is YouTube is a delicate house of cards of an income stream. And the chances of you setting up a successful content creation business when you're just out of school are slim to none. By all means, get a channel up and running, but don't sacrifice your education. I would suggest once you're done with your studies, you spend 5 to 10 years minimum in a professional career to build up the life experience and skills you're going to need, not to mention a substantial pot of savings so you can actually survive if anything goes wrong. The good news is, and this is just in my personal opinion, over the next 10 to 20 years, advertising is going to revolve around respected social media influencers. And the sooner you can start building up a following, the better. Focus on a niche and don't be too general, but the internet is crying out for trustworthy sources of information. Video and podcasts are where people are going to find that information. The internet as it stands at the moment in the back end of 2019 is filled with fake reviews. Nobody believes reviews anymore. They're all absolute nonsense, and I think over the coming years we're going to see reviews just starting to vanish because they're pointless. So where do we go to find out what to buy or where to visit or whose services to use? You turn to an influencer that you trust. That level of trust is a very powerful thing, and it's also an incredibly hard thing to fake. If you're authentic and honest with your audience, you can build a reputation that advertisers could only dream of. Just don't be taken advantage of by companies who want to make use of the thing that you've worked so hard to build up. Treat your audience with absolute respect and remember that they're the ones paying your bills. Never ever abuse that privilege. As a little side note to all of this, one of my channels took me best part of 2 years to build up all the content for the channel. 2 years. And I started to get a little bit frustrated about the channel not gaining traction and various other things. And I nearly shut the whole thing down. And I ended up just leaving it there. And it wasn't until another 3 years down the line, that's 5 years, that it started to get traction on Google. And now it's actually doing quite well. And it's turned into another potential little business in the background. At the time, I thought it was just a non-starter and I was just going to shut it down. It turned out all I needed to do was leave it for 5 years. So if you've got that kind of patience, and if you enjoy the admin side of things, which will take over your life, if you're capable of negotiating the business deals that are going to come up in the process of doing all of this kind of work, not to mention being comfortable in front of a camera, spending enormous amounts of time just completely on your own, editing stuff endlessly. If all of that floats your boat, yes, it's an absolutely valid business model. So if I haven't put you off too much and you're deadly serious about pursuing this as a career choice, then as promised, I've got some homework for you. How long this homework takes is entirely up to you, but you're not going to get taught this stuff in school, at least not yet. Thankfully, there's a bunch of amazing people who have done a lot of the groundwork for you. So, I want you to study the work of these creators. In no particular order, we've got Pat Flynn, Daryl Eves, Tim Schmoyer, Nick Nimmin, Roberto Blake, Sean Cannell, Brian G. Johnson, and of course on the UK small business side, hopefully you'll continue to follow this channel. So by study their work, I mean immerse yourself in every piece of content that they've created that's relevant to what you're doing. Not just YouTube, but podcasts, blogs, books, training courses, and everything you can possibly find to fill your head with information before you embark on this journey. I would love to know if schools out there are starting to take this a little bit more seriously. If you are a teacher and have any questions at all, please do get in touch, either via the comments below or you can get in touch via the contact form on smallbusinesstoolbox.uk. The internet has completely changed how the world works. You can either get left behind or you can enjoy the ride. It's entirely up to you. If you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe and I shall see you next time. Bye bye.